Now we are live. Welcome, everybody. Oh, and how do you like that? Right when I say all that shit, now, of course, I start breaking up. Anyways, we're live now, and I'm here with the Doe Eyed Atheist. You know her from Twitter is at Rach Ninja, but she's not on Twitter at the moment. She's taking a break. So thank you very much for leaving your break just to do this and hang out with everybody here. Basically, what you know, well, you know what I do. I ask people to sort of describe their path away from religious belief to becoming the atheist that they are today, or atheist, whatever the case might be. So I'll let you take it away, and I'll probably jump in from here and there, or here and there. You know what I mean? Stumbling over my words.
Most of you guys in the chat already know me, but I started out as a Southern Baptist girl. Ooh. My parents are young earth creationists, so
good Lord.
I was at church every week, sometimes like 3 times a week. I was that kid that did the Christian clubs at school, organized Bible studies and prayer meetings, carried my Bible everywhere and like evangelized to strangers, memorized some of Romans.
Oh my goodness.
My senior quote was something out of Jeremiah. Now I can't remember what it was, and I tried looking it up like 30 minutes before the show, and it was to no avail.
Oh, you couldn't find what you were looking for?
No. I didn't have time to read all of Jeremiah.
It's kind of boring anyway, so.
So one of my earliest memories of just having an issue with the faith, I was like 6 years old. And
wow, that's pretty young.
Yeah, and I like worried about heaven all the time. I would just be laying in bed, like contemplating eternity and trying to decide if that's something I even wanted. And I mean, if your other option is hell, it's better. But to live forever.
But at what point does that become hell?
Right? Exactly. And it scared me, and no one else seemed to understand that concept. Everybody just thought it was like the best thing ever, and how could you not want to live that way as a mindless zombie worshiping God for all of eternity?
Of course, yeah. Hey, maybe they have free ice cream. Probably like the best vanilla ever.
But yeah, it was a lot of little experiences after that. I continued up through high school in my faith, and I remember the first, like the issue after that I remember distinctly was like sexuality and not understanding why gays are an abomination to God, and just being really confused about how my friends, people who are just the nicest people, could be like these horrible, the term abomination in the Bible. And so that was another one that I really struggled with. And it just didn't sit well with me. And then dealing with my own sexuality, because I consider myself bisexual. So there was a lot of self-loathing there.
Wait, self-loathing because of what you had been taught about that sort of thing?
I know that seems so strange and just completely foreign concept. Well, like nobody else goes through that. But
I've heard people go through that before, but
I know.
My guess is it's because of the indoctrination. Yeah, okay, right.
Yeah, but I mean that's all. No, I mean I think most people who are raised that way have some understanding of that, at least, even if it's not with their sexuality. It's something. But I went on to get even deeper, because you can't stop there. I went deeper into the crazy. I actually considered myself like a full Calvinist at one point. I was like 16 or 17.
Wow.
I went hard.
Wow.
So I don't know if everyone's familiar with what they believe, but their biggest thing is predestination, which seemed like a logical leap for me from like God is omnipotent and omniscient, I was like, okay, so if he knows everything, if he can do anything, then some people are predetermined for hell. That's just the way it is.
Mm-hmm.
And Calvinists believe in total depravity. So I went from like a little bit of self-loathing to like everybody sucks. We're all like, we're not worthy. We're just sinful and terrible, and I hate myself.
And we're having so much fun.
It's so great. It's fantastic. And predestination is another big deal. And basically you can't be saved without like God wanting you to be, and you can't walk away from it. And if he wants you to be, you basically can't turn it down. So there's no free will. Nothing you do matters. So I got to that point and started arguing with people about whether or not babies go to hell if they die. And because if you're predetermined, it doesn't matter. If you were predetermined for hell, even if you're a baby, you're going to hell. So people didn't like that much, as you can imagine.
Oh, I bet.
And
I often wondered, what about all the babies that he flooded? What about all those ones?
But it was conversations like that upset my pastor and upset, my Christian friends and my parents. And they just thought I was being like rebellious, but I had these real questions and no one could give me any answers. And it took me going full Calvinist to realize like the terrible shit that's coming out of my mouth. And finally I got to a point in my life where I was like, if this God does exist, I don't want to worship him.
Yeah.
He's an asshole.
Kind of a dick. He says, the way to get here is to believe in me or Christ or whatever. But I already know if you're going to be here or not, so it doesn't matter.
And then I had a really interesting conversation while I was in this mindset, the like Calvinist mindset. I had a conversation with a history teacher who is like my favorite teacher in the whole world. He's amazing. But he just started talking to me about the origins of the Bible and how that all kind of came together. And once I knew that it basically was handpicked to avoid contradictions and like
which they failed at.
They failed super hard.
Oh yeah.
But once you know that's like a council of people got together and just put it together, they're like, oh, this bit looks good and that piece kind of goes with this, and this will help us control the masses. You can't really look at that document as like the unerring word of God, because some guys just got together and thought it sounded good.
Yeah.
But the first verse that came to mind after that, hearing that, I remembered like one of the last verses in Revelation, and I looked that one up for you. It's 22, 18, and 19. The short version is basically, if you change anything, I'm going to like rain the plagues down onto your head. And if you take anything away, you're going to be like stripped of your salvation, burn in the lake of fire. So I was like, how is that any different from what these guys sat down and did?
Yeah, good question.
But no one could give me answers.
Oh, I bet.
And I think that was about the point that I sat down and I'm like, why do I believe these things? And the only answer I had was, that's what I've been taught my whole life.
Mm-hmm. So was that sort of the moment when you started slipping away from all of that?
Yeah, it was a lot of anger and like questions that people didn't want to answer. I think I was 19 when I was in the middle of praying and I was like, God doesn't exist. I don't know why I'm doing this.
I've often heard that people kind of equate, when you leave the faith or religion, that you almost go through the 5 steps like you would when somebody dies, right? Where it's denial and anger and all that shit, depression and whatnot.
Oh, yeah.
Until you get past all 5 stages, then you're probably pretty cool after that.
Yeah, when I was like 15 or 16, I definitely, I know that there was some denial because I was really into science and history. And at some point you have questions that the church can't answer. And they're just like, oh, well, you know, it's just a conspiracy from all these scientists that hate God. They're all atheist scientists,
Oh,
you
yeah.
know. They're trying to eliminate God from the equation. Well, there's only like, I don't know, 2% of legitimate scientists that might consider themselves Christian. Maybe, you know, that's
I think
not
it might
like
be higher than that.
really.
Yeah, I think so.
That's
But
unfortunate.
I don't think I think they're more like culturally Christian than they are, or Jewish or whatever, than they are
Yeah,
full on believers, because I can't imagine being a scientist that knows what they know, especially in the fields that you're able to contradict all the stuff that's told in the Bible, like geology for flood stuff and whatnot.
that's the thing.
You can't sit and believe that. I mean, they just couldn't. So they're probably culturally,
They don't.
but some
It just
might
doesn't
still
go
believe.
together.
Yeah, they kind of butt heads. I mean, that's, you know, when I hear people use the word Christian Science, I kind of laugh all the time because there's nothing scientific
It's an
about
oxymoron.
it. Yeah, exactly. But yeah, I mean, there are, as far as I know, and the percentage is higher than 2. I'm pretty sure. But I'm sure most of them are. Well, I can't say I'm sure, but I'm fairly sure most of them are more culturally religious than they are full-on believers, and
I
some of them
guess if
probably
you
have
can
that.
like separate that and say like, here's my faith, and then here's facts, and like somehow God
Sure,
did it. I don't know.
they just they could be more deistic than they are theistic, where they there's some higher power that maybe just got the ball rolling, kind of thing, and then science took over. Who knows? So,
I could concede that. It's still unfortunate.
yes. Yeah, I don't know why they need to cling on to it, because if you ask me, everything you read in these scriptures, especially
Ooh,
the
somebody said
Abrahamic
60% of
scriptures,
scientists still identify as Christian.
60.
That makes me really sad, but it's probably true.
I don't know if it's that high, but you never know. I mean, they could identify as Christian, but and not actually believe, right? So, I mean, if they're filling out a paperwork somewhere that asks you religion, they might check off Christian just because, you know, that's how they grew up. But whether or not they actually believe is another story. Identifying as something and actually believing it is, you know, they're separate issues. But who knows?
Well, if you're going to include doctors, Bob, then yeah, I guess.
Well, doctors are medical science, right? So anyway.
I already said I concede it.
It's not really relevant anyways. I mean, we're talking about your deconversion. Who gives a shit about the scientists? They can believe whatever they want.
I'm just saying it's not like a conspiracy where Christian Science is like the only science.
I agree with you from earlier where you said Christian Science is an oxymoron. That's for sure. Scientific about their explanations on how things got going. Like, not at all. Like, how did plants survive before the sun was created? That's what I want to know. And I'm glad they made hops plants, because without them, I wouldn't have this. They made. Wait a minute. I'm glad that they were there for me. Who knows? Anyway.
So sorry, I kind of buzzed through that really fast because I was a little bit nervous. But if anyone has questions,
buzz through that. Why are you nervous?
I just am. I'm always nervous.
You're among friends. We miss you, man. We miss you around there in the chat groups and stuff. I'll let you know that for sure. If anyone's got any questions, I mean, I have questions still for you. Were you ever full on in like what do they call it? Like Sunday school and stuff like that? Were you ever like the teacher's pet kind of thing or anything? Or
Oh yeah.
yeah.
I was a camp counselor at a Christian Bible camp.
Ooh, what was that like?
That was actually really fun. But I was, I was like 16, 17 at the time. So I was still like full in.
Mm.
And I ran a Sunday school for a little while. But it was like the little kids. And
you actually ran one.
Yeah.
Interesting. For how long? Like a couple of years or?
About a year. It was like
That's not bad.
six and under.
So you're one of the people spreading. Shame on you. Those young, innocent, moldable minds there, and you're getting them on the. Well, I'm sure. You know what? I find a lot of people that I know personally that have gone through Sunday school no longer believe anyways. The statistics are showing that the pews are emptying at a fairly quick rate these days. So people are catching on, man.
That's wonderful.
Yeah. Yeah. So what about your parents? Like, do they know that you are an atheist now?
They do. The one time, well, I talked with my mom twice about it. And the first time it was over the phone. And the second time I sat her down and talked to her, she like wept and then screamed at me.
Oh, wow.
And I finally was like, I don't have to explain anything to you. I don't, I sat you down to talk to you about this like a reasonable adult, and you're not acting like one. So we haven't talked about it since then. Yeah, she freaked. So
she's probably scared that you're going to be in hell now, right? I mean, that's what I hear a lot. Right? Oh, now my daughter's doomed to hell. But you can say, hey, you know what? Don't worry, Mom, because when you get up to heaven, they wipe your memory anyway, so you won't even remember me, so you won't even know I'm down there. I'm down there burning away,
But you'll just be happy all the time. It's totally fine.
You got to wonder if these people that are in hell, if you ever get used to it, and eventually it's just not a big deal anymore. You burn for so long, and then finally you're just like numb to the whole thing, and you're just like, ooh, anybody got any marshmallows? That kind of thing. Right?
Yeah.
Because I mean, it can't hurt forever. Eventually, you're just gonna get used to it, right? I mean, it's an eternity. That kind of punishment for finite crimes for an eternity seems ridiculous to me.
It is ridiculous.
But you're gonna burn just because you didn't love me, like I loved you. And it's like, hey, fuck you, dickhead.
I believe it's like not only the whole like love me or I'll kill you forever, but like whether or not you love me is of no consequence because I've already decided whether you're going to burn forever. It's pretty crappy.
Rusty Ross says all the cool people go to hell anyways. So see you there, Rusty. Don't worry. I'll bring a big cooler full of ice cold beer. It won't be too bad. Wait, can you do that? If I pay the ferryman a few extra coins. I don't know. I'm mixing mythologies now.
But I think probably the best thing that came out of me being a Christian was I was exposed to a nursing home and did like puppet shows and visited old people and stuff. And that got me super excited because I found out that a lot of those people don't have anyone.
Mm-hmm.
And then later on, I got into a secular program and started volunteering at hospice.
Awesome.
And so, now I just think it would be really great to make it a norm, let people know that atheists are good people and, not necessarily all of atheists are good people, but atheists can be good people.
Of course.
That,
there's good and bad in any belief system.
Exactly.
I mean, what's that saying? Good people will behave good and bad people will behave bad, but it takes something like religion or twisted politics to make otherwise decent people be bad, right?
Yeah, Twitter definitely made me more excited about being outgoing about my atheism, like buying shirts and stuff.
Mhm.
I'm wearing a Science is Real t-shirt to the science day at my daughter's school.
Awesome. I'm wearing a science shirt myself that says "Science doesn't care what you believe."
That's awesome.
My guitar player wore a hilarious shirt last night to jam. It had all the like xenon and neon and all the gases, the noble gases, and they're all dressed up like knights and kings and shit. It was awesome.
That is awesome.
I'm like, I need that shirt. Where'd you get that? Why are you wearing this shirt? I'm the chemist. What are you doing? He's like, oh, I thought it was funny. Oh, okay. Well, there you go. Yeah, they almost kind of, you first look at it and it reminds me of like the Holy Grail characters, but with the element numbers or letters, I should say, on them.
That's sick.
Like XE, yeah, Xenon and XE and HE, and yeah, it was cool. I like funny shirts like that. Well, the one I'm wearing today, if anyone cares, is Powdered Toast Man doing the first Superman cover, but instead of a car, he's lifting up Mr. Horse. So
that's awesome.
Because Powdered Toast Man is awesome. Cling tenaciously to my buttocks. All right, anyways. That would be awesome if you could make powdered toast. I don't know what the fuck you do. It's like what's his name? That old comedian Stephen Wright used to say he bought some powdered water, but I don't know what to add to it. Which is hilarious. All right, so so I guess both your folks know about your decision to become an atheist or to give up beliefs, anyways.
They do. I think my dad just thinks that I'm like being stubborn or I've been hurt in some way and that I'll come back. I don't really know.
You're mad at God and you just want to sin and all that rhetoric nonsense that they spout off often. What about friends, like friends from your church and stuff like that? Have any of them like stopped talking to you since this, or have you lost? Really?
All of them except one. There's like an elderly lady that still adores me. But I haven't talked to her about it, and I doubt that anyone else has. And it's just not something we talk about. But yeah, I don't talk to. Well, to preface this, I had a baby when I was 19, out of wedlock, and that was really the issue, more so than the atheism. All of my family told me that I was never going to be anything. Basically, my future was over, and
wow.
My grandma basically called me a whore. It's a lot of good fun. So
aren't family members supposed to be the most supportive?
Yeah, you would think.
You'd think.
So that was the biggest thing, I think. You know, nobody in the church really has any contact with me. And then I was in a bad relationship, an abusive relationship for 3 years. And so I was kind of isolated from my friends. So I don't have any of those old friends. And yeah, that's basically it. Now I'm an atheist. So like, even if I had contact with those old friends, they probably wouldn't want to be my friend anymore.
Yeah, probably not. But you've got a bunch of new ones now anyways. You got a lot of people here friends. You got a lot of people that have your back. So you can always count on the small group that we have seemingly formed here through Twitter.
I see Diana and Nadine.
Oh yeah. Yeah, lots of people. There's lots of people hanging out in the chat right now, and I have no idea what they're talking about. I sort of haven't been watching it for a bit, but anyway, so if any of you guys have any questions, feel free to fire them in the chat, and I'll actually pay attention for a little bit here. Sorry, sometimes I get distracted back and forth, so I'm not trying to ignore anybody, obviously, because that's just not me. But Rachel, hi, sweetie. Hi, Rachel, sweetie. Yeah. All right. So, okay. Well, do you recall the first thing that you remember reading in the Bible that made you kind of tilt your head, like, you know, like a dog that's like, huh? Where you're like, how can this possibly be? Is there anything that sort of jumped out at you like that? Like, this can't be real kind of thing?
I don't. The first time that I really like took a step back away from everything was that conversation with my history teacher. And it had nothing to do with religion, really. Like, we were just talking about history and like how the Bible came to be. And it was like this little seed that I just like tucked back in my brain for a while. And then like mulling things over, it kind of popped up to the surface. But I don't really remember anything before that, except like trying to, you know, reconcile science. I got away from the young earth creationism before I left the faith. I was like, there's no way that the earth is only 6,000 years old. That's stupid.
Yeah. Yeah. I'll never understand that whole 6,000 to 10,000 year old thing. It's like how anyone can actually believe this, considering what we know to be factual about the age of the earth, is just boggles my mind. Right? Our friend Steve, who's a geologist, who he likes studies rocks and stuff. He can tell you that the way they date these rocks is legitimate, and they can get fairly accurate into the age of these things through multiple methods of dating, actually. Because we all know that carbon 14 dating or whatever can only take you back so long, but they have other ways of dating that can go way back. I was reading recently that the oldest rock that they ever found so far, they found right here in Canada, which is almost like 3.8 billion, I think, something like that, years old. And forgive me, but I cannot remember off the top of my head the dating style that they used for that, or dating technique, I should say. But I think it was some sort of radiometric dating system or whatever. But there's apparently another kind of dating that they're using now that uses photons, the decay of photons that get trapped inside things, which is kind of cool. So you can tell how old something is by the decay of those, which is neat. Of course, I read about this sort of shit when I'm sitting at work and doing all the tests and stuff on the oil and the antifreeze. I often have time while the machines are running to catch up on the latest scientific journals that we get mailed in all the time. So, and that's where I sort of read about that.
That's exciting.
Yeah, it's kind of neat, and that's one of the things I love about my job is I'm constantly learning. Right, so it's always cool. I mean, they put me through the schooling to do this, so that's how I've got my certificates for being a chemist now. So I had some post-secondary, of course, but I never really took it all the way. And then when my boss gave me the opportunity to do the lab work, he's like, "Listen, you've got some background. Let's finish it up and get you something, whatever, some sort of certification for this." And that's what they did. So that's what I do now. So how many, like, with all the people that you used to know, like your friends and stuff that are no longer talking to you, is that a significant chunk of your childhood friends, or?
Oh, definitely. Because I was, you know, involved in the church, and then at school, the majority of my friends were, you know, going to the Christian clubs with me and like doing like the prayer at the flag, that kind of stuff. I did lots of Bible studies with my friends. So when I left the faith, I was pretty much alone. And
nobody else followed suit?
No. And it was.
Do you ever run into them anymore?
Not really. No.
What do you think would happen if you kind of ran into a group of them or something? Do you think they would?
I think they would be kind of horrified.
Really?
Yeah.
So you think they'd approach you and say, "Hey, how you doing? What are you doing these days?" And then if you told them, they'd be like, kind of thing?
Exactly.
That's too bad. Maybe you can throw a life preserver to some of them and get them the hell out of that belief system.
That would be cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I don't do Facebook or anything like that, so a lot of those people I've just fallen out of contact with.
Yeah, I don't go on Facebook much these days, and a lot of people that are my friends on Facebook are like, "We never see you on here anymore." I'm like, "Yeah, it's all about Twitter these days. Fuck Facebook, Facebook."
But
I'll
I've made a
pop in
lot of
once.
really great friends on Twitter. So
Yeah, yeah, me too. And they're all sitting in the chat right now. Well, lots of them, not all of them, of course, but yeah. Bimilzebub's absolutely correct. He's like, Facebook has turned into a massive dumpster fire. Come
I
on.
wouldn't know because I haven't been on it since like, I don't know, 5 years ago.
Like Twitter's not a dumpster fire most of the time either. It depends on who you're chatting with, like S.J. Thomason or something like that, or that fuck I had a run in with that Andrew Stratolopoulos or whatever the fuck his name is the other day going on, and it's just like, Andrew, you've got your fucking beliefs. I'm not going to change your mind. All right, what do you want me to say? I don't believe, you do. That's the difference between us, right? So I don't see any reason to. You obviously do, and nothing I say is going to convince you otherwise because I've tried and I've seen you in action. You're just you're lost. You're a lost puppy when it comes to that shit. It's like, oh no, I can be reasoned with. I'm like, really, dude?
No.
Really, dude? No, you're not. Even messaged me. I'm like, go away. It's like it's like that Hanzo guy or whatever the fuck.
Oh, I just
There's like a whole
him.
Yeah. These guys are all nuts. And he is a twat waffle. Yes, he is.
Oh, Josiah.
Yeah, Josiah's here.
Everybody's
was a
here.
POS. Yes. Yeah, well, yeah, pretty much. Well, I mean, is there anything more that you want to cover here? Because you kind of blazed through.
I know I blazed through really fast. I'm sorry. I just
no, don't be sorry.
into like a half hour.
We got the condensed version, the Cole's Notes version, the Reader's Digest version. Let's not go with Reader's Digest. They're kind of religiously based as well. Oh, fuck. You know what that reminds me of? Every year they got the Salvation Army out in front of like Walmart or Safeway or whatever, collecting money for them. And they're extremely religiously based. And she's like, were you going to donate? And I'm like, no. Just walked right past them. I have other things that I donate to at that time of year that are secular based. So I don't need to fuck with the Salvation Army. Although the, was it the White Stripes that did that song, Seven Nation Army? Because that's what he thought it meant when he was a kid. Which is hilarious. All right. So,
okay. Go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
I was just going to say the only thing that I forgot to talk about was like I was having a conversation with my cousin, and this was after I had kind of decided that God was an asshole if he did exist. Religion just feels really real when you're in it. You have that like feeling where you're like bubbling over and you're just like, oh, this is God. This is, Yeah. But everybody in every religion has that feeling, that like God feeling. And
oh, absolutely.
Basically, it doesn't mean anything. Your mind's just really great, and it can do amazing things, but it's just a feeling. And after we had that conversation, I pretty much was full-blown atheist. I think that was the thing that like concreted me. Because other than that, there was no evidence. There was no evidence besides the way that I felt.
Mm-hmm. Which we now know comes from the brain. So
exactly.
Right. They can actually recreate these feelings in laboratory conditions, and they have. And I've watched some of these specials on this sort of thing where they can tweak with the mind, and you're like, feels like there's someone in the room with you, or you get this flush of what we would describe as like a lovey feeling, and that must be God or whatever, right? So, but these are self-induced feelings from our own brains,
which is amazing. But we shouldn't.
Oh yeah,
our lives on them.
No, but they won't believe you, right? You try and tell them that. So let's listen. Why don't we go to the lab and we'll reproduce those feelings that you think are God?
Look at all these medical journals and the evidence that we have to back this up, but they don't want to hear that.
Yeah, feelings isn't evidence, right? They're not data for anything except that you are capable of having feelings. That's fun. Well, if you want, Rach, we can cut this one short and just jump into an after party with everyone if you want to do that.
Sounds good.
Are you right? Are you all right with that?
Yeah.
Okay. I mean,
this is like the shortest deconversion story you've ever had.
I think, yeah, it ranks up there anyways, because it's only about 40 minutes long, really. So, which is fine. I mean, they don't have to go the hour. I just always allot that amount of time in case we get right into the conversation, right? And
yeah, we did, because I made notes. I was just like, bam, 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 bam.
Bullet point. What happened? This is the way it happened. This is who it affected, and blah, 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 blah. And here we are. What? Okay, I don't know what the fuck you're going on about, Klaus, but we really don't need to be talking about fart bubbles in the shower, buddy. I don't know why we brought that up. All right, so I guess we'll cut this one short. That's fine. And it's a pleasure talking to you, because we haven't seen you in so long, man. So I kind of want to hog you to myself for a little longer. That's all. But all right. So anyway, what we'll do is I'll send out a fresh link for because I've already set up the next hangout for the after party, and then we can carry on there with a few of our friends, and we'll go for that for about an hour and a bit, or however long we do.
Yeah.
I don't really have to be anywhere till about 8-ish. True. I don't. Like what I said was I don't have to be anywhere till about 8-ish. So that's cool. We'll do that. All right. Well, Rachel, thank you so much for doing this. It's a pleasure, because we kind of miss you out there. So it's good to talk to you again and see how you're doing. Thanks for sharing your story.
Vibrantly Brantley wanted to know if they can be in the chat, and I said yes. Come to the after party.
Brantley, no, we don't want Brantley in the after party.
Why?
Fuck you. I'm just kidding. Of course he's welcome. He's always welcome. All of the people that I know are welcome into the after party. Anyway. All right. Well, thanks everyone for watching, and thanks again, Rachel. And until the next one, which will be, I don't have anyone for Monday. I'm trying to land somebody for Monday, because I had David, as you guys know, as compelled unbeliever scheduled, but he's got some issues going on with his divorce and the whole living situation. So we're going to reschedule him. So I do have an opening for Monday if you guys know anyone that would be interested, or if anyone that's in the chat that I haven't spoken to yet about deconversion would be interested. That spot is available for around 4-ish. Well, Russ, it's okay. You can come into the after party if you want that. Anyways, guys, thanks again for watching, and again, thank you, Rachel, for telling your story. And remember, as I always say at the end of these things, it's faith, because it's not knowledge.